Welcome back to CryptosRus. I am George. We're all George. Bitcoin. We had some Bitcoin outflows. Yesterday, we had 121 million, 68.7 million from BlackRock. That is rare, very rare. So that's 2 days in a row. But you can see BlackRock normally takes in, and only that. Very rarely do they see outflow, but recently, they've seen a few days. So yesterday we had a little bit of outflow. Ethereum also had outflow. They sold 87 million of ETH, and overall we had almost minus 200 million for ETH. So this is a reason why ETH and Bitcoin both a little bit down. A little bit down. Okay? Not to exaggerate, not way down, just a little bit down. And here's another reason why Bitcoin dipped down to 114.4 yesterday is because the stupid CME gap. Because we went up so fast or early July, people forgot about the fact that we had a gap between 114.3 and 115, right? So recently we filled a gap between 117 and 119. And people thought it was over. But then, you know what? We had this other gap that we never filled. And now, we filled it. You know, these CME gaps, okay? They always somehow fill. Sometimes it takes a few weeks. Sometimes it takes a few months. Sometimes it takes over a year. But they tend to get filled. So, I guess the good thing about this is we finally got it done. And we don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't know. That's the best way to look at it. But they tend to get filled often. All right. But now that we have filled it, what's next? Right? Well, analysts still expect a rebound, not a crash. I don't think there's any analyst out there that expects a big Bitcoin crash right now. There is none, because obviously what we're going through is caused by the macro conditions, short-term macro conditions. Nothing fundamentally has changed at all. And the accumulation is still very, very heavy. So I don't think there's anyone that expects a crash at this point. And if you're worried, you simply zoom out. And I've shown you guys this trend line. Bitcoin tends to, dip down, utilize as support, and then move on. And you can see how it hit that trend line perfectly and stopped. Just like last time when we fell down to 111, then we utilized that as support and it went all the way up to 124. This time we came back down to 114. And we're probably going to continue, just like all the times before we utilize it as a trend line. Now, sometimes you break through. Sometimes you get a bigger correction. But then we still pick ourselves back up and keep going. That's how Bitcoin works, right? And like I said, heavy accumulation has not stopped and continues to happen. Another mysterious whale picked up 172 million. These are large amounts, okay? They're not sailor amounts, but they're pretty close. 172 million out of nowhere. Last week, we also saw almost 4,000 Bitcoin being bought. That was just last week, okay? Not last month or last year. Last week. South Korea's pension fund increased their Bitcoin exposure by almost 200%. And David Bailey's Kindly MD, I didn't even know this. He's the founder of Bitcoin Magazine and Bitcoin Conference. He also has Kindly MD, and they just acquired 5,700 Bitcoin for close to $700 million. So again, heavy accumulation happening, has not stopped. The fundamentals for Bitcoin continues to grow stronger. So this is the reason why nothing has changed. Besides a little macro FUD. Okay, that's what we're going through. A little macro FUD, a little liquidation, CME gap filled. That's pretty much it. Hey, Brazil's also thinking about creating a national strategic Bitcoin reserve. So it's happening all around. And not only that, one of the biggest tech companies is now getting involved, and that is Google. Google has now become the largest shareholder of this TeraWulf mining company. They own 14% now. So it's interesting. You know, Google slowly coming in. They should just buy Bitcoin or buy ETH or buy Sol, buy whatever, right? But they're starting out with a mining company. Baby steps. But eventually all the big tech companies, they will follow. They will enter the space. No doubt they're paying attention to what's happening with Wall Street and how their appetite for Bitcoin is enormous. They're not oblivious to it. But this could be seen as the first step into crypto. So pretty good. Pretty good. All right, last few things about Bitcoin. You know, I showed you guys the trend line that I created, right? We pretty much followed it perfectly, but this is another one. This is just utilizing the 50-day EMA, and you can see how Bitcoin also tends to follow that trend line, bounce off of there, and then continue forward. And if you're an educated person, you would say, hey, those green dots are pretty good buying points. Those are when you should be buying because Bitcoin is oversold and tends to bounce. That's exactly where we are right now. And then the new target, or the overall target, right, is still in play. Has anything changed? No. When in doubt, zoom out and you look at where we are now, it doesn't really seem like anything has changed. Any of these little dips, they're distractions. When you zoom out, you don't even notice them. We are going through a phase where it's the least volatile of any period that followed behind us. So don't panic, continue to hodl and DCA.